Mankins, Brendan, and Mr. Fredrickson. And we have a guest of Michelle Shea. And we have a guest, a presenter, Mr. Mark Neary. Okay, and Mr. Callahan may be a minute or two. I saw him downstairs, so. But I think we can probably start this. I'm going to call the meeting to order for the Butte Public Works Committee for October 14th, 2020. Item number 1, communication number 2020-139. Brenda McDonough, Commissioner, District 8, requesting Council of Commissioners to consider that a speed study be conducted by the Montana Department of Transportation on Highway 2 from the 9 Mile to Pipestone Pass. With the upcoming recreational season approaching, I ask that a study and decision be made in a timely manner to address the safety concerns for the spring and summer seasons. So, Mr. Neary, do we have any update on that, or we're still gathering information?
Thank you, Chairman Olson. The week that we had our discussion about getting it on the MDT meeting is when they switched the meeting to go to every 2 months for the winter. So still, I think 2 weeks away from the meeting, but it's our agenda.
Okay. So, yeah, 2 weeks from now, we should have an update on that. Okay. So we'll hold that in advance. Is that okay with you, Commissioner McDonough?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Item number 2, communication number 2020-385. Nicole Pointier Carrells, How Novel Bookstore requesting Council Commissioners concurrence to place a hanging east-facing wall of the building located at 21 North Main. I was thinking that I was wondering if the Planning Commission was in and how this got to us, but what would be on Public Works? Any idea, anyone? Mr. McDonough?
Thank you, Chairman Olson. We could ask the Planning Department to review the request and give us a report back. Otherwise, it'll be zoning ordinance or variance application.
Yeah, well, I was sort of expecting that or that planning would be here to explain why it ended up in our bailiwick. But anyway, I guess what I'll do is I will contact planning and see if we can transfer that to them, or if there's a special reason it ended up in ours. So I will contact planning, and if it does end up in ours, I will keep it here. Otherwise, we'll cancel it next month or next meeting. So we'll put that one and hold it, and that one in advance also. Item number 3, communication number 2020
Chairman Olson.
Oh.
Commissioner Fisher has his hand up, and then.
Okay, Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Chairman Olson. It isn't uncommon for these type of things to come before the Public Works Committee, and I'm not certain how this should be handled. You may be on the right track, but I think it's possible that we may be able to concur and place on file in our department, and then that planning go. We are not certain it needs a variance. It could just be something that it needs our approval, and as long as there's no variance needed, we could concur and place on file contingent upon the planning department approval.
Okay. And I believe it does require a variance because it's on the sidewall of a building. It's kind of like the physical therapy down in Harrison. That was the direction they had to take also. Commissioner McDonough.
Thank you, Chairman Olson. See Commissioner Frederickson has his hand up, and unless he opportunity to speak for him, but I would also just probably make a motion to refer it to the planning department for a report back, at which point they'll have to tell us they need to proceed with the variance or not.
Okay. That's a motion that.
Form of the motion, yes.
Okay. There's a second.
Second.
Fisher. Okay. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Mr. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to say, I think Commissioner Fisher might have been on the right track, because if it's my understanding, it's one of those hanging signs because there's no wall. And there's already a hanging sign there. It's between the OMG Mongolian Grill and 5518 clothing store. So I thought maybe Commissioner Fisher might have already had a point that there's already been a sign there to approve it to hang there, but I didn't know if it needs to go through a review process with the zoning board, or maybe Commissioner O'Neill do they usually submit their plans on that? On like what it looks like?
Yes.
Yes.
There actually was there is a design of a brief design included with the communication.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and I was sorry, I was on the wrong side of the street. I was thinking that it was on the side of well, no, I can't be there. There's a Montana, a Northwestern Energy building there. I was okay. I'm living in the past, guys. Sorry. Okay, so it's on up by OMG and 5518, somewhere in that. There.
Yes, and I don't have any more questions. As long as this motion sends it back to the zoning board, that's fine with me.
Yeah, we'll refer it back to the planning and. All right. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll take that as unanimous. Okay. Item number where are we at? Item number 3 again. Communication number 2020-402. Michelle Shea, District 2 Commissioner, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence to place this communication in the Public Works Committee to review the traffic calming methods around the Whittier School area. Many citizens have expressed concerns about the safety of children in this area. Commissioner Shea, would you like to speak to this a little bit?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted this put into Public Works Committee so we could actually brainstorm on this. I have since been contacted by Cassie Wick, who is working with Todd Hoare, and they have both offered to work through their organizations and the contacts that they have with outside entities. They've offered to take us on a walking audit of the area and invite Public Works Director Mark Neary and anyone else that would like to attend to explore economical solutions that we believe exist. So it's my wish that we just hold this in abeyance until we can get Cassie and Todd to come to the committee and speak to us about some of the solutions. Then we can actually do a walking audit and look at some of the problems that are down there firsthand.
Okay. Commissioner Frederickson, I think you had your hand up first. Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I think I would like to go on that walking tour if I could. I think that's a great idea. And I also think that excuse me. I also think that we should look into getting those speed signs similar to the one that's on Continental Drive around Hillcrest. Looking into what we have to do to get those, because I do think that those are helpful. But I understand there's a lot of houses, especially on all around Whittier, and around Hillcrest it was 2, whereas around Whittier you would have to do 8, I guess. So that's probably adds up quite a bit. But yeah, I think that it would at least be nice to know how much those cost and the process to get that through. And the only other thing that I wanted to bring up is last year, and I just remembered this, or I would have sent the link out with my other email. The city of Bozeman they provided citizens with traffic calming signs, and they were similar to like what a political sign would look out that you see all around. So I don't know how effective they were, but something that we could look into is contacting the city of Bozeman and looking at their design, or if it even worked. I mean, you start paying for having people put up signs in front of their yard, and I don't know if that even does anything or if people will just laugh at us, but I think it's worth looking into. And after tonight's meeting, I'll send the link for the Bozeman signs to everyone in this committee.
Okay, I think I actually saw a news report on that, and the sign that they were showing, it looked like it had been run over to be. So, anyway, continue on, but we can contact Bozeman about that. So, Mr. O'Neill and Mr. Mankins, did you have your hands up at some? Mr. O'Neill?
Thank you, Chairman. I would definitely really love to go on that audit walkthrough. I guess what is the goal in mind? Is the goal in mind the blinking lights? Is that I guess, or that would come after the audit, I guess. I mean, is that the whole goal? Is that, I guess that'd be for Michelle. Is that the goal for that, to get blinking lights there? Because I think they're a great idea. That's why I'm just asking.
Okay, Commissioner Shea?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The goal is to slow the traffic. So my communication was to explore ideas to slow the traffic. I didn't ever mention blinking lights or speed bumps, but both of those ideas have been put in my mouth as ideas, and not once did I mention either one of those things. So but my goal is to explore ideas and find the most affordable way that we can do that and meet all the ends.
I think also what you were talking about, Michelle, when we talked about this, was that being down there at a time when the kids are being let off, you can kind of see what is happening in that situation, and see what it actually looks like and watch the speeders go by or not. But that also might give us some ideas. Commissioner Mankin, did you have go ahead?
Yeah, so thank you, Chairman Olson. So does that go along with, the traffic calming method? Is that what that is considered, Commissioner Shea?
There are all kinds of traffic calming methods, and I would imagine that Mr. Neary probably would be the best one to speak to that.
Okay.
Can I have a follow-up before?
Okay.
So I'm kind of piggyback off of with Commissioner O'Neill. I know that I've mentioned the blinking lights off of Hillcrest, and I think Commissioner Frederickson, the speed bumps. But as I stated prior, that I don't think that it's just a audit for the Whittier, I think that all schools needed to be, if we're thinking about one, then we should be thinking about all. And along with the audit, when we speak with about the two people that would like to go on that walk, when we get them together, are we sure that that is just something that we're going around just for the speed, or are we looking at sidewalks? Are we looking at accessibility for wheelchairs? Because I know in the past up on the west side, before I was a commissioner, that I did kind of follow up and been following with previous Commissioner Foley that did the same kind of walk. And it was more on the lines of finding a way to increase, I guess, the sidewalk issue and the wheelchair accessibility along with the speed, which is in every district and at every school at this time. So I just didn't know if that was something that I want to see going there and thinking that we're thinking about, well, is there a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit? Is there a stop sign here? Or are we getting kind of, as Commissioner Foley once stated, kind of blindsided, we're walking into something that's going to be sidewalks, wheelchair accessible, different things that are going to be different. So I think that we need to really clarify on what the traffic calming method is going to be for all schools, not just for Whittier.
Okay, Mr. Neary, would you like to talk a little bit about the traffic that are out there?
Thank you, Chairman Olson. The first I've ever heard of traffic calming was when Michelle put the communication in. I watched Commissioner Frederickson's video, and I get it that one street was 82 feet wide, and the cars were going fast. And I never thought about that as far as narrow streets. His video pretty much pertained if you're going to build new streets, narrow them up or bump out the crosswalk, people feel a little congested and they'll slow down. I get that. I mean, I'd be more than willing, Mrs. Wick and Todd, on this walk through and see what they have to say. I drove the Whittier area after the meeting last week, and around the school, I didn't even notice a 50-mile school zone. And I talked to Tom, and he said they had never been requested. That I'm sure this is always, but it's now coming to light more so than ever. My thought on the flashing speed is they work. I'm a speeder, and one at Hillcrest, it catches me every time I go down, and it makes you slow down and brings it to your attention. They're $12,000 a piece, roughly. Well, Commissioner Frederickson, if we needed 8, that's $96,000. But I'm not saying that we should be worried about the money. We should be worried about the children's safety for sure. But I think the school district paid for the press, put it in, and they maintain it. So maybe we should be looking towards the school district a little more too. I really don't know. I don't have an answer. We're in public work. We're definitely willing to do whatever to make things safer. But I guess ideas bouncing around will be a lot better too.
Okay, Commissioner O'Neill.
Thank you, Chairman. And that's where as far as the talking with a couple of the school board members, I think at this point of life, we could maybe try to team up some way and make a really positive thing for this, because, I mean, obviously Hillcrest got them first. It has nothing to do with it's the Hillcrest Hornets or anything like that. I mean, they're off a highway. I'm an Emerson guy, so I am upset that they got one before Emerson did, but that's neither here nor there. But I think it's something that definitely, if we can, coordinate with the school district, I think that would be something that could work out to a really good thing.
Okay, Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark, I'm sorry, you were kind of cutting out on my internet. Did you say that you did not notice any speed limit signs down there?
No, I didn't. I drove around 4 south and I didn't, there was one on a block away before the school, but everywhere where all the cars, I mean, I didn't notice any.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I thought. And I want to be clear as well. You know, safety is obviously everyone's first thought, but we are also, you know, very cognizant of costs as well. And you know, like you said, we're looking at a $100,000 price tag for some of this, and we don't have any authority to spend the school district's money. But I do agree with Josh, Commissioner O'Neill, that partnerships work. But I do think we have an obligation to explore every solution. And we have people that have connections and resources available to us that we may not even be aware of that work in this arena on a day-to-day basis. And they may have a solution that we haven't yet thought of. And so I really don't see any reason why we wouldn't want to pool our resources and broaden our circle to see if we can't find something that isn't going to cost us $100,000 that might work just as well. And that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay, Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Chairman Olson. You know, I used to frequent that school quite a bit back when we had a pop machine there. And there are a couple speed zones on I don't know the names of the streets, the one that's north of the street, and the one west of the street. They start a couple blocks before the school. They're 15-mile-an-hour speed zones. Maybe they just need a few more signs to let people know that it is a speed zone. But as far as I know, those signs are still there.
Okay. I have just one comment about the school district. Has the principal of Whittier been invited to this also?
Yes, Dan.
Okay. All right. Any more discussion? Oh, Commissioner Mankins.
So again, and thank you, Chairman Olson. With the narrowing of the streets, we just had an accident again within the last 5 months on Platinum Street. You can't get a narrower street than Platinum with everybody parked on it to slow down speed. The accident was yesterday morning at 7:50 in the morning with kids walking to school that wiped out the same vehicle now twice in the last 5 to 6 months. So the narrowing is something that I don't know if it really does work. And piggybacking off of Commissioner O'Neill and Commissioner Shea for that matter, that you know she's went the right avenues, I feel too. And with Commissioner O'Neill speaking for going to the school board, if that's where we got the money the last time to partnership up, then that might be something that Principal Shad could approach the school board and see what they have to say about partnering up together, because $100,000 is a big price tag.
Okay. We're almost getting to the end of our meeting. Commissioner Frederickson.
I'll keep this brief because I know that area really well. So there are signs on Sherman, but it's confusing because it says 15 miles an hour between 8 and 4. So we should probably just make the whole entire radius around the whole school 15 miles an hour. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. Mr. Neary.
Dan and Sean, the signs are off the area. It's almost like I believe that they should be right at the beginning of the school in order because that's the offset off the street. By the time you get past that, you're in range again. That I was getting at. I mean, they could probably pick up speed again. I don't know. I mean, it could be 15 miles an hour, but people aren't going to abide by that.
Okay. All right. So I think what we'll do is hold this in abeyance, and we'll do our walk through, and then proceed on. I think we can also do this. Well, we'll do this almost the same thing probably with the fourth communication here. So, all right. So we'll go on to the fourth one and the last. Number 4, communication number 2020-409. Dave Palmer, Chief Executive, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence for this communication to be placed in the Public Works Committee for evaluation. Suzanne Crossman, 2837 State Street, has asked that stop signs be placed at the intersection of Banks and State Street and Yale and Porter Street. The intersections have become dangerous with the amount of traffic going through and people speeding. Chief Executive Palmer.
My office received a phone call from this person, and for some reason, she didn't feel comfortable putting in communication and asked if we could submit it. And I said there wouldn't be a problem there, but she would be willing to come up and talk to the committee if need be. I think that, you looked at 8 signs for $96,000, almost $100,000, and Hillcrest was, that there's 2 of them there, and they only have 1 street that they're worrying about. You look at the Whittier, they're probably going to want one on all 4 sides of their school. We're looking at a lot of money here, and the same with the other schools around, like the Emerson or the Margaret Larry. Even there could be several places out there where you would need to place them. If we're going to look at that type of money, you're almost better off budgeting for a police officer to patrol the schools and just make it, instead of a school resource officer, it's a school traffic control officer or something. But I think it's well worth sitting down as a group with the school district and find out what the solution is. Putting up stop signs all around, it may slow down for a while, but every one of you know how well they work after a while. They just ignore them.
Mr. Callahan.
I agree. I believe the people will pay a lot more attention to a police officer than they will a sign. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Mankin, did you have your hand up? Or?
Yeah, just in the past, because I'm just like 2 years into this, and I know like off of the 4 Mile, for instance, the blinking lights, like Mr. Neary stated that, the flashing lights do work. I know that's a lot of money, but who paid for the one on Warren Street? If anybody could.
And that's just out that's out on Sage, out in Sage in that area.
So it's right off the 4 Mile. If you were to take a left, if you were going east up the 4 Mile, and off to the right would be the Stalkers, and you take a left on Warren Street, and as before you go to the dip, there are flashing lights that chart your speed.
Yeah, I don't know. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Chairman Olson. I can answer that question, but I would recommend that maybe, Chairman Olson, you schedule a special meeting for 1 hour or more and get us all in a group and talk about these 2 communications, number 3 and number 4. And once we come to a general consensus, approach the school district and come up with some ideas. But I think right now, a half hour, when you got 4 items on the agenda like this, we're not going to make much headway. We're just kicking things around and not getting very far. So I would recommend that as chairman, you call a special meeting for an hour and a half, and let us all get together and decide what might work best, and then go in the direction we think. Thank you.
Okay, and I was kind of thinking the same thing. Mr. Frederickson.
Yeah, I agree. But I will say on this particular street, if you go down and look at it, there's a stop sign on State Street and Sheridan. Then it goes Bank Street where this communication, this address is. And then there's a stop sign on State Street and Sherman. So I don't know if putting another stop sign on the corner of Banks and State, you'd just be driving, stopping. So I don't know if that's going to solve the problem. So I guess, long story short, I agree with Chief Executive Palmer.
Yeah, I think that's, I sent you guys a document that has some things that I found and some questions. And I'd like you guys to maybe folks to look at that and see if there's anything there. That there's a couple links at the bottom also for guidesaferoutes.info. That's, I think, kind of what we had done 3 or 4 years ago about safe routes to school and whatever. They have some information, and then the transportation.gov, they talk about the effectiveness of the various things. So that's just some things to add. So I will work on scheduling we'll hold this in advance and work on a longer meeting that we can discuss it more fully and have one topic of discussion and not have to worry about the time constraints. So, all right. Since we're done with our time, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second. Thank you, Chairman Olson. Look forward to a future meeting.
Yep. Thank you.
Commissioner
Good
Tate,
discussion.
can I be invited to that as well? I didn't say that, but I would like to go on that walk as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, folks. See you at the next one.